She's just on a mission. She's myopic. She's straightforward. She's persevering. And, one thing is important to her, which is get Lance Sterling and solve this case. I'm also dry and sarcastic. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times with casting, they want to cast somebody who is how they imagine that character in their head. Plus, there's a lot of back and forth. So there's scenes where with the directors, you kind of like figure out what the shape of the scene is based on some stuff that's in your real personality. Through the course of the movie, there's a lot of twists and turns in terms of like who actually is responsible for this mess. And I think she's so sure at the beginning it's Lance. And yes, realizing that it is not him and that he was right and he was set up at the end changes her opinion about him. But it also, I think it's like worldview wise, she's used to having this very like ABC idea of how to solve something, and this really takes her for a spin and goes all over the place and is not linear, which will probably change the way that she works in the future. Nick and Tori are great. It's been a very kind of spirited, fun, collaborative experience. We recorded both here and in New York, and they've, along the way showed me everything and what they're thinking. And I've always felt like I knew where I was. And sometimes it's hard with these things because you kind of jump in and you haven't seen it for 4 months and you have to pick up a couple lines here to make this scene better. But they've been so communicative and have done such a nice job. Will Smith is a juggernaut. He's a classic, His brand of humor and his sensibility, his kind of this particular version of him where he's like ready to go and hyper confident and then relegated to a pigeon body is like it's my favorite version of him because he gets to be just like humbled through the entire movie, which I think is like a really fun thing for him to do because he is both those guys. He's like the humble guy and he's also the flashy guy, so it's like fun to watch him do both. I really enjoy voice acting because you don't rely on visual. You can kind of do whatever you need to do physically or visually to get your voice to do the thing because you're so reliant on the sound of it that like anything that gets you there, any physicality, anything you have to do to get a performance you can do, whereas like you can't really do that on screen. So it's kind of fun, it's kind of freeing. It's challenging though because again you're just relying on this one thing. It's very hard to be subtle, but that's for the animators to do, and they've done a really good job of like creating what feels like a real person around this character. Walter, I feel like really represents a certain kind of young person who gains their value from like the intricate work and things that don't require that they are social with other people, and then he's kind of forced out into this world to be kind of on the go and to interact with everything, and I think it changes him. And at the end of the movie he's part of the team. He is the team. Like he's the most important part of the team, and like I think that probably is really satisfying for somebody who never expected to be like thrusted out in that way. I really liked the scene with the truth serum. I thought it was really funny. Just to see all these people who are warring with each other respond to the same, magic potion and just tell their truest feelings. And it was like really fun to record because we did a bunch of different versions of what my cats' names were. And ultimately we went with the New Kids on the Block because that was my favorite band when I was in 7th grade. But just to see like all the kind of to see anybody, especially like in the middle of a fight, be vulnerable, I think is super funny.